The social justice activists, in partnership with Pine Bluff Parks and Recreations Department, presented its Juneteenth Commemoration and Justice Rally on Friday, June 19th from 7 to 8:46 p.m. at the Regional Park Amphitheater. Program participants spoke about the importance of Juneteenth then and now, as well as mark the death of George Floyd by holding a moment of silence for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
My Bible, it tells, yes, it tells me so.
Celebration organizer Kymara explained the importance of hosting such an event like this at this time.
So as you know, Juneteenth is one of the most important days in the Black community. We are very proud to commemorate this day, and we know the significance of us being liberated from slavery. And so I felt it was really important in our community because this year there was not anyone that was coordinating or doing anything. So my committee and I felt it was really important, especially in light of what's going on around the nation, that we do something to commemorate this time. And so that is the reason we felt it was really important to do that, and the reason we just kind of stepped up and did what needed to be done. So
Have the chance we have to be what we can be, to do what we want to do, choose what we choose. So stay up, hold your head up high. Forget about what people say. Don't let life pass you by. This is a message to the young. Stay wise. Black, dark, skinny, light, black, skinny, straight, gay. Be proud of who you are and love yourself anyway.
When we think about the Emancipation Proclamation, when we think about the enslavement of Black people, Black Americans, I think we separate ourselves from that history. It's been so long. And I've heard young people, I've heard older people say, man, if I was living back in the days of slavery, man, that wouldn't be me. To implore you to recognize your kingliness and your queenliness, to recognize your citizenship, to vote, to sign up for the census. These laws affect us. What happens in the State House, in the City Hall, in the court building, affects your life and what you get paid, how your children are educated, whether or not you can walk down the street, whether or not there's a curfew, how many resources come to the state, how much you get paid when you're unemployed.
Juneteenth is an opportunity for the citizens of Pine Bluff to come together and establish a process where we can move forward and remembering that the history lies that we come here this far by faith, and the history lies for our historical platform to move forward here in the city of Pine Bluff.
I love this event, this Juneteenth celebration, just as I do all Juneteenth celebrations, because it celebrates our history, our heritage. But what I was so impressed with this one is the participation from our young people, that involvement from our young people. The messages that we shared with them and the messages that they shared with us. Sometimes we really don't know just how deep our kids are and how much they do understand. And I think it's so important that we continue to share with them, because that's that legacy that we must leave so that they can carry on when we're no longer on the scene. So our Juneteenth celebration this year has been a bit different from others, but yet I think it was most fitting for the season in which we're living.
I just want to give a shout out to all of the leadership that came together to create Pine Bluff Juneteenth 2020. It was a smashing success. Our goal was to people in 75 cars, and we had well over that number. And the speakers were awesome, but most importantly, the youth were awesome. They gave out some wisdom that we thought might come from the elders, and it came from our youth, as well as some challenges and things for us to do after today. The thing that I want people to remember is, we heard a lot about voting. We don't need to just vote, okay? It starts with that, but we need to think about what happens after the vote. We need to think about the policies, the laws, and stop thinking that these things don't affect us. when we operate through life and go to the store, we get a receipt. A lot of times we keep our receipt, especially for big ticket items, right? When we buy a car, when we buy a home, we don't just say, I'm gonna give you my money and you promise me the deed, or you give me the deed and then I abandon the house. Or, I don't hold folks accountable to doing their part to making sure that I have water and power. That's the thing about policy. We can't just say, well, great, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed and now black people who had been enslaved and oppressed for over 300 years, over 400 years, are now free, so we go on about our merry way. We saw that didn't work. Policy takes ongoing monitoring, care, accountability. Who you put in office determines, and the White House determines who's on the Supreme Court. Who you put in Congress determines the policies that come downstream to our locales. And who you put in the legislature, in the city council, in the mayor's offices. All of those things matter, because we can pass a law today, just like there was a civil rights law back in the 1800s, there was a civil rights law in the early 20th century, there was another civil rights law in 1964, there was a Voting Rights Act in 1965, just like there was a Voting Rights Act in, I want to say it was 1865. We still have to make sure it gets enacted. There are laws and rules on the books right now. It was against policy for Eric Garner to be choked in a chokehold and killed by the police. And that rule was not enforced. It took forever for that officer to be held accountable. And it took protesting, it took movement, it took people working together. We have to be that vigilant with our elections. We have to be that vigilant with our laws and policies that guide us from the bottom to the top to the bottom. And we have to be that vigilant with our freedom. We have to be that vigilant with our freedom. So.